It was only after he died that we cared about George Floyd, when we could use him as a symbol. If I wasn't black, this would have been a harder sell for Princeton.
Is that why in the photo in the sleeve you look more black than you do in real life? White privilege.
The lion's share of poor people in the United States are white. You didn't see the janitor like sobbing uncontrollably about politics as he was scrubbing these rich kids' mess out of the toilets. Transphobia, homophobia, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism.
That's a long day. Through the glass. Okay, today's a little bit different on Bad Boys Done Good. Tony had some business to attend to. We're hoping he might ring at some point during the pod. So I'm flying solo today. We've got Tony here in spirit. Today we are joined by Musa al-Gharbi. Now, Musa is a social psychologist and professor of communication and journalism, and now he's an author. Welcome to the show, Musa.
It's great to be here.
Am I saying your name correctly?
Yeah.
Musa?
No cancellation.
No cancellation yet. Yet. Now, I've read your book. Now, you've written an incredible book called We Have Never Been Woke, which you can see there on a wide shot. So you've got the word woke in the title of the book. Was that a choice on your part to put that in the title?
So one of the things the book does is it tells this long, 100-year story of these struggles over power and status in the knowledge professions and how they get bound up with these claims about social justice and all this kind of stuff. But books are always, they're products of particular times, particular circumstances. And so I really wanted to kind of anchor the book in the milieu in which it arose, Right. And so, there's no term that's kind of more central to the discussions during this moment around social justice and the knowledge professions and all this kind of stuff than the term woke. So the title came to me and I was like, no, this is the title. Right. The press was trying to encourage some other titles. But
right, to go more highbrow. I mean, obviously you want to reach people. You don't want to be so highbrow. There's obviously a split in published work between those that try and include the masses and those that just try and reach the minority, the elite themselves. And actually the book touches on that itself.
Yes, absolutely.
So you've got to play to the time you're in. I mean, I've had experiences of woke culture and it has sort of been so present in our culture, even in film. Runners having panic attacks if I shout at them. The makeup girl tweeting if I call her love. I mean, people dobbing me in for playing away from Elaine. Ellie Ray, my daughter, she's non-binary at the moment, so it is affecting me. Woke feels different to me to political correctness, which I remember from the 80s and 90s. That seemed to be just a lot of people whinging about us using the word man instead of person. But woke feels more aggressive. People comfier. They go after you. There's more dirty tricks. Would you say that's fair to say?
The cancellation bit, that's actually a pretty consistent trend.
Right.
So, for instance, in the 1960s, there was this phenomenon. They called it trashing then, what we call cancellation. I think one thing that is different about this time is that we live in this internet culture where we're all in this panopticon being surveilled all the time, and we have this pressure to perform. It's easier to kind of marshal crowds to cancel someone.
Right.
And then second, it's easier to say or do something that will land you in the crosshairs of someone. I think there is maybe a sense in which it's more intense this time because of the internet. But
the scale of it.
Yeah.
If we'd had Twitter back in the 60s, these trashings would have been similar scale.
That's my hypothesis. That's my guess. Yeah.
Right, so cancel culture ain't new.
No.
It's not a new thing. How far back can we trace it?
I start the story in the book in the 1920s, and a little bit before that, actually, the late 1800s. And the reason I just start the clock there is because these kind of ways of talking and thinking and this way of approaching the world that we call woke or politically correct, and by other terms, it's actually really uniquely. It's only people who work in the knowledge professions who tend to think that way and behave that way.
When you say knowledge professions, what do you mean by that?
Yeah,
just to clarify.
So people who work in the media and academia and consulting and finance and
middle
tech.
class.
Yeah, usually upper middle class folks.
Right.
This language around and these ways of talking and thinking. This isn't the way that people in trailer parks or slums, this isn't the way that they talk or think about social justice. And part of the reason why we're so unusual in the ways that we think about things and the ways that we approach politics is because from the very beginning of our professions, we said, you should give us these things, not for our own sake. You should give us these things because if you give us this pay, this autonomy, and so on, it will empower us to help everyone in society, including and especially the least among us, the marginalized and the disadvantaged.
So if you align yourself to causes, to greater social movements, that legitimizes your position, but also entitles you to more power.
Yeah.
So people say, give me the power because I'll use it right.
Yeah.
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, and it goes the other way too. If you are someone who is successfully painted as having the wrong motives or being in bed with the wrong kind of people or
tell me about that.
having the wrong kind of thoughts about the wrong groups, then you could find your position in these professions jeopardized, or you could even lose your job. And this has been true again for 100 years. This isn't something that started with Twitter.
Tainted. So your name's Musa al-Gharbi. Now I was wondering, did you think about maybe having a pseudonym? Because that's obviously, is that a Muslim name?
It is a Muslim name.
So do you worry that it might put people off reading it? They might think, oh, that name's a bit Muslim, that name's a bit foreign. Did you think about maybe changing it to Johnny al-Gharbi or Barry?
It makes me spicy and exotic.
Right, and that's what people want. People like a bit of that now, don't they? And does that make you seem more authentic?
Within the symbolic professions, it's increasingly the case that you actually do have this unique form of symbolic capital, this unique form of clout.
You call it symbolic capital. Just briefly tell us what you mean by that.
Symbolic capital are the ways that people who are in positions of power get other people to do what they want. So it gets they're the kind of resources elites draw on to get other people to listen to them. And so he came up with three big ways that elites do this. There's academic capital, which is when when you say like, oh, I have a PhD. So it's like when you lean on your credentials or your association with these knowledge institutions. And then there is political capital, which is when you kind of leverage your place, your kind of position in an organization. And then there's cultural capital, which is when you get other people to listen to you because they think you're cool and interesting and sophisticated, and they want you to like them, and they want to ingratiate themselves to you.
Okay. What about money? Where's money in this? You can be rich and have all the power, have all the birds, nice cars.
Yeah.
People defer to you.
It quickly becomes clear that actually the millionaires and the billionaires, they don't do much in the story. Like they're not the ones who are running the PR firms to help them launder their reputations after bad things happen. That's us. They're not the ones who are interviewing themselves and then writing fawning profiles of themselves after they make these donations. And that's us in the media.
So we're the cogs, because people often blame the 1%, the top 1%. They always say we need structural change. And in the book, you talk about how we are the people that can cause it.
Yeah, it's hard.
We have a say in that. We're talking about them having to do it, but actually we are the tools that they use.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine and appropriate to criticize the top 1%, but when we kind of focus exclusively on them, then we actually miss the big picture. A lot of the calcification we see in many economies like the United States, where you see this kind of growing divides, this economic stagnation, and so on, a big driver of that is the way the upper middle class is behaving, not just the top 1%.
We'll get into that more. But I want to go back to the question about authenticity and how, you having an exotic name makes you more somehow believable. People go, oh, this is proper. He's the real one. He's closer to the source. Yeah. Is that why in the photo in the sleeve you look more black than you do in real life? Because you look very black in the book. You got a beard. You look full Muslim in there.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to be black. Well, but you're actually mixed race.
As far as how I look, it just depends on the time of year. If it's
and the time of day.
And yeah, if I get a lot of sun, like my skin color changes a lot, and then similarly, if I have hair and beard, I just look very different. So I just fluctuate. But one of the things the book criticizes is the use of elite credentials to decide whose voice is worth listening to, who's worth taking seriously. For one, it's published with Princeton University Press, and I targeted Princeton University Press and other elite presses intentionally. And then likewise, the reason Princeton cared about what I had to say and published this book, and there was a competitive bid to the rights for it. And so
congratulations.
Yeah, it's because I was coming from Columbia University, an Ivy League school. Like if I had been coming from a small state school in, Montana, then there wouldn't have been, they wouldn't have been interested in the book in the same way.
They wouldn't have taken you seriously.
Yeah, and then likewise.
If you'd been white. as
Yeah.
well. You would have seemed like you were whinging.
Yeah, so the book criticizes the way that people leverage collective identities like black, Muslim, and so on to in the service of their own individual benefit. So
So you've done that yourself.
yeah, so part of the reason Princeton was interested in this book is because I'm black and a Muslim. And if I wasn't black, this would have been a harder sell for Princeton. And if they published it at all, it probably would have just been perceived as too risky, especially if I had any whiff of like conservatism or evangelical Christianity or anything like that on me. I'm a columnist for The Guardian. I'm a Muslim and so on. So if I was just a cisgender, heterosexual, neurotypical, able-bodied white man, and I wrote this same book, there's a good chance it would have got passed over as being too risky.
I mean, you say black, but are you completely black, or are you half black? Are you both your parents black?
No, my father is an American descendant of slaves, black. My mother is white. I described myself as black and leaned into this tradition of black critique because it was convenient for me to kind of collapse this more nuanced description of my ethnicity into the simple term black because people give you a different kind of credibility.
If the door's open to you.
Yeah, as compared to if you say I'm a mixed person or I'm half white or something like that.
If you say my mum's white, I've written a book, don't know. My dad comes from an ancestry of slavery. They're listening, aren't they?
Oftentimes in journalism and academia and so on, you see people doing things, making statements like, as a queer Latinx woman, the reason why they start the sentence that way is because by foregrounding their identity, they expect that you'll take them more seriously, that they'll have a different kind of moral or epistemics authorities. Epistemic meaning if a Muslim is talking about something like Middle East policy, you take their perspective more seriously. You assume that they know more on the basis of their identification, whether or not it's actually true.
Okay.
As a matter of fact.
There's also an assumption that people somehow carry the history of their people in them.
Yes.
In there.
Yeah.
They're sort of, I'm black, therefore I carry the history of pain.
Absolutely. And in virtue of that, other people owe you things, right? Because
reparations.
Yeah.
So is that what people are doing? Are they abusing the fact that there is a kind of diversity push now? Is it being abused by essentially middle-class black people and mixed race people to take the money? It's not actually getting to the ghetto, is it, that money?
Yeah, so this is one of the things I show in the book. Like if you look at a lot of affirmative action policies, like at schools like Harvard and Columbia, if you look at the black students that they admit and the students who get aid on the basis of being black, very few of them actually are American descendants of slaves. So affirmative action was basically created as a soft reparations program for American descendants of slaves. But like the primary black people in America who benefit from it tend to be people who are mixed race like myself, or people who are of recent Afro-Caribbean or recent African origin, people from Kenya or Nigeria or Jamaica, first or second generation immigrants. You have these programs that are designed to help people from disadvantaged backgrounds, but in practice they don't do that. I'll give you one final example. After Me Too and other kind of movements like that, you saw a lot of efforts to diversify corporate boards, specifically to add more women.
More birds on there, right?
Yeah. You know, one of the things that's striking, though, is who's going to be eligible to serve on the board of a company like McKinsey & Company. You're going to need to be someone who went to an Ivy League school, who had an illustrious career in finance and consulting already, such that you have the right kind of reputation to be on the board. And as a result of that, you're probably someone who's already a multimillionaire or a billionaire, providing more opportunities for multimillionaire and billionaire women to serve on corporate boards. Like, is that bad? I don't think it's bad, but it's also basically irrelevant to the challenges of most women.
What I notice is that they do when a bird gets to a CEO or gets on the board, they say that it's a victory for women. When a black person makes it to partner, they say it's a victory for black people as a whole.
Yeah.
But the people in the ghetto, do they dance when some middle-class black kid gets a promotion at JP Morgan?
In reality, black people have some of the highest intra-ethnic inequality of any other group in America. Like they have some of the most, they're one of the most economically polarized blocks of the population in America. So like you see like a small number of black people doing good, a very large number of black people doing poorly, and the fact that the smaller number of black people is doing good is doing absolutely nothing for the rest of
So
black
it don't
people.
trickle down. It don't give them a zhuzh. They don't feel all empowered and suddenly want to get out of the hood.
Yeah, well, whether they want to or not, they're not able. They're not able to. They're just because again, like there's giving someone like me a scholarship to go to an Ivy League school just doesn't do anything for most black people, practically speaking.
Could you send money to the hood?
Yeah, I could in principle, but this is my point, is like when you look at the black writers of the New York Times and so on and so forth, this is not what they're doing. They're not actually building ladders downwards, and they make strong claims on behalf of black people. This is what African Americans want. Black people think this, black people feel this, and so on. When in fact, the views that they're articulating just are not represented by most black people. So most black people in America have real concerns about public safety and public order. They are not down with abolishing the police, opening all the prisons, things like this, because black people are disproportionately victims of some of the excesses of the criminal justice system, but they're also disproportionately victims of crime. They have like real problems of public safety and public order in their communities that are not being met. So they want better policing, but not necessarily less policing. And even for people who are not part of that, like if you're a white person and you work in the media,
Like me.
and you're trying to figure out what do black people want, well, chances are all the black people that you know share the same kind of leanings as you. And so it's really easy for the white professional peers to think that the views they have are widely supported by black people and so on, because all the black people they know support those views.
Well, is that one of the main issues with woke, is that it's an internalised logic system where you've got to sort of show other people in your group that you're on track with the most up-to-date views and the up-to-date thinking, the right words. But actually the people that they pertain, is that the right word, pertain? Yeah. My daughter taught me that word, I love it. Been using it all week. The people they pertain to be representing don't actually have the same beliefs. And they're not brought in. You're not going into the hood to bring in some local black kids to have the chat all round the table in the HR department. The wokeness is actually anti-woke because it's actually pushing the people away that they're talking about helping.
You can see this, for instance, criminal justice, I'll just stick with that case, is a prime example where after some of the social movements in the United States that were driven by symbolic capital, that were driven by these knowledge economy professionals to kind of reduce policing and curtail policing, there were actually significant upticks in black casualties because cops actually did pull back in some communities. The point is there was less policing in a lot of these communities, and black people suffered for it. There was an uptick in black casualties. So ironically, there was this movement that was described in terms of saving black lives, and basically the net effect of it was that you saw higher levels of black casualties from crime. A lot of the things that we do in the name of various groups actually harms them. Like it outright harms them.
But people don't want to hear that, do they? They feel better. They've taken away some police from that area. That's good. So we're taking away, we're punishing the cops for George Floyd. Is that fair to say, the George Floyd?
Yeah, I mean, it started.
Did this all start in 2020? Because I mean, the book you start in 2016. You say that you noticed on campus students were, making it about them when Trump got in. They were all having days off for their mental health and talking about how that was going to affect them. They weren't thinking about the janitor from Mexico.
And so, after Trump was elected, the students were distraught. The professors were distraught. The idea was that the little guy was going to get crushed underfoot because of Trump, and the rich and the powerful were going to be even more rich and powerful. And I was like, well, if you're at Columbia University, it's an Ivy League institution whose main purpose is to identify people who should be in the elite, to mark them as elites, and to accelerate their journey into being wealthy and successful professionals. They found various ways to make themselves seem like these helpless, powerless little guys. They're the little guys who are going to get trampled underfoot. And there are all these other people around them. As you said, there's the janitors, there's the groundskeepers, there's the people working in the cafeteria serving them food. There was no movement to have them give a day off, to give them bonuses, to any kind
mental health days.
Mental health days, anything like that. The students and professors were focused on themselves, and more than that, you also didn't see any of these other workers showing up the day after the election. Like, you didn't see the janitor like sobbing uncontrollably about politics as he was scrubbing these rich kids' mess out of the toilets. They just showed up the next day and did their job. And this kind of juxtaposition
was ugly.
Yeah, it kind of led me to ask kind of what's going on here. And then when I dug into this question of what's going on here, what you can see is that there was this shift that started after 2010.
So that's when what you call these awakenings, when people start rising up and whinging.
Yeah.
Was it iPhones? Was it Facebook?
It was not in my account. So one of the things I show in the book, my colleague and I, we analyzed 27 million news articles from 47 media outlets over the past 50 years, and we saw that.
That's a long day.
Yeah.
You must have been knackered.
Machine learning tools made it easier. Absolutely. And after 2011, there was this big uptick in talk about race and discrimination. And not just race and discrimination, though, but also transphobia, homophobia, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism. We couldn't identify anything in the world that was happening with respect to race, gender, and so on. And we did statistical tests that showed that most of the change that we see in that time series over that period, it seems to be the product of some deeper shift in the people who produce the news. So journalists changed. Something shifted in journalists, and then that changed the kind of work that they produce across the board. And it seems there's two big things that predict an awakening. One, they tend to occur during moments where elite overproduction is especially acute. They occur when there's these kind of contractions in the labor force.
Does that mean it's getting smaller?
Yeah, there's just fewer opportunities than there are people who want them. These frustrated would-be elites, they try to tear down some of the people who are currently in positions to try to make room for people like themselves.
You get a lot of elites sitting about and they can't get a job. They can't live the life that they were dreaming of, that they felt entitled to. Take it on themselves to sort of try and go and fix the situation by tackling race, gender, sexuality, political correctness. They take it on as if it's something important to them. So are they aware that they're using other people's movements for their own ends, or are they oblivious to the fact that they're doing it? Is it subconscious? So
my claim isn't, when I highlight that people are using these social justice narratives to advance their own interests and further their goals, I'm not suggesting that they're cynical. I think they're true believers.
Right.
It's just that
once they get the job that they felt that they deserve, they stop complaining about other people. They stop caring as much.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons awakenings end.
The economy stops contracting.
Yeah, is that after some of these people get folded
baby comes out.
Yeah.
Of the economy.
Yeah.
It gives birth to a better time.
Yeah.
And then all the elites fuck off and carry on and do well.
Yeah, basically.
And stop caring about black people and trans people suddenly.
They might care in their hearts and minds, but they
get a key ring instead of going on a march.
Yeah, but they disengage from a lot of the kind of activism.
And yet you say that they do believe it fundamentally.
Yeah.
But the fact that they piss off after their lives have been fixed, doesn't that undermine it?
No, I mean, so again.
I'm sorry, I think Tony's trying to ring me. Hang on.
Yeah.
Tony, is that you?
Yeah.
How you getting on over there?
There's a bit of a situation, but I think it's all under control.
What's been happening?
Is it safe to talk? Where are you?
Well, I'm at the studio with Musa.
Who's that?
The writer. He wrote that book. Do you remember? Ellie Ray and me were working on it together because I couldn't understand it. She was explaining a lot of it. Do you remember?
How is he? What's he like?
He's a good lad. We're having a good chat. He's got a lot to say.
I got a couple of questions. I was thinking of a few. Hang on.
What's that?
Is he there? There's nothing. Is he there?
He's here. You say hello, Musa.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how the fuck you doing?
I'm all right.
I've been a bit busy with a shut the fuck. One sec, bear with me.
Who is that?
With me. Nothing. All right, Musa.
Yeah.
What changes should I make in my life to be more woke?
Yeah. One things that I hate when I read books is that people will write a whole book describing problems, and then they'll spend 5 pages at the end presenting some easy solutions. And I didn't want to present these kind of complex problems and pretend like they were easy solutions.
I understand, but this is just a quick conversation.
Yeah.
Just a couple of sentences.
Sure.
What should I do?
So the book opens with a story, for instance, of these people who were standing in the middle of this of Broadway Boulevard in New York City, waving signs that say Black Lives Matter. Cars would honk at the signs. People would cheer, and they were often doing this when they were standing over homeless people. If you're in a situation where you're doing something And there's not really a good relationship between what you want to accomplish and what you're actually doing. What I would urge people to do is ask yourself, who are you doing this for? And if there's not a correspondence between what you're doing and what you want to accomplish, you should consider doing something else.
Right, okay.
So that's an example of a bit of advice if I were going to give advice.
All right. You ever heard of Wells Bond Market?
No.
I just want to know, because I asked how I can be more woke and a better person, better citizen, and he just sort of gave me a long answer about, I think it was about a placard.
Yeah, don't toot your horn when you see Black Lives Matter signs if they're standing next to a homeless black geezer.
Focus on helping real people in real places with real problems instead of trying to fight abstract entities like the patriarchy or racism or something like that. We've just lost confidence in our ability to deal with normal people.
How do we fix that?
People need to log off more and touch grass more and interact with like actual people in their communities more. They'd be shocked at kind of.
There's some grass. Listen, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you guys talk it out.
Okay, thanks for ringing, Tone.
No, it's great to speak to you. Make sure you get this guy. Take care of him. Get him a bugger in the grass or whatever the fuck.
I got him some Palestinian dates actually because I knew he was Muslim. So that's from there. Is that all right? Palestinian dates? Is that all right?
Yes, fantastic. Okay. Thank you so much.
I got you some blood orange, a drink. I didn't know if there was anything political in there that you'd be against. I got you some muslin cloths because it sounds like Muslim, but it ain't. But that was the closest I could get to Muslim.
All right.
All right, so
Nice to speak to you.
love ya. Bad Boys Done Good is now proudly sponsored by Wellsbourne Market.
The biggest open-air market in the Midlands.
With stalls selling the latest fashion trends,
Home security items.
hair care,
Meat.
workwear,
Blankets. Pillows and cushions.
and much, much more. A fun day out for all the family.
With free parking and fully tarmacked walkways.
Just off the A429 near Leamington Spa. So when a bunch of white people, middle-class people, get involved in other people's movements, does that have a positive effect or a negative effect?
Two things that are true that don't fit easily together. One of them is that it's basically impossible to have any social movement succeed in the United States without a large buy-in from white people and so on. But the thing is, it's pretty much only these kind of relatively affluent, highly educated, successful, super elite whites who are into this kind of white bashing, and they have the luxury of adopting that belief because they're doing just fine. So they can bash the whites and they can point and it's no skin off their back. But less affluent white people, when they hear white people are the problem and you're just barely getting by, and and you hear someone talking to you about all the privilege you supposedly have,
White privilege,
especially when you have some kind of rich white person who lives in New York City, pointing to people like you and telling you that you need to confess your privilege when you're working at Circle K in a small town in Kansas or something like that, like you're going to respond to that negatively, and understandably so.
Well, they're not the same. So not all white people ain't the same, all black people ain't the same.
The lion's share of poor people in the United States are white.
Right.
And so if you're an elite and you subscribe to a narrative that lets you look at the plurality of poor people and say, I don't owe you anything. I don't have to reallocate anything to you. In fact, you probably have more than you deserve because of your privilege. And if we give you other resources, you're just going to squander it, just like you squandered your privilege. So I don't owe you anything. That's a very convenient view for elites to hold. On its face, these kinds of narratives are egalitarian. They're about social justice and so on. But how they actually function is they often help the winners in the social order point to the losers and say that the losers deserve to lose.
So a lot of the issue with woke, because people say woke is just kindness, right? And what you're saying is a lot of it pertains to be kind, but actually they want to look at a screen that sort of has a subject on it, a version of the thing they're talking about. But the thing that in reality It's ugly, it's messy, it's noisy. Genuine inclusivity is always someone screaming in the corner.
Yeah.
There's always someone a bit mental rocking. There's always a single mum with 5 kids. That's real inclusivity. But they don't want that, do they?
Yeah, and so I
They're
think
flat white in peace.
people who work in these professions are sincerely committed to social justice. When we say things like we want the people at the margins of society to live lives of dignity and inclusion, when we say we want the people who are suffering to be lifted up, we're not like lying.
We feel it.
Yeah, when people were crying,
Feels nice in your chest, doesn't it? Feels lovely. It's a very chesty.
yeah, when
Heady.
people,
I don't feel it in my legs as much, but in my body I feel it. If I say anything like that, I don't really bother with all that sort of talk. But
Like
when
when-
you say nice things, you feel good, don't you?
yeah, well, when people were crying after George Floyd was killed, I mean, that was a performance, but it wasn't just a performance. They were sad. We think that we should have more say over society, that people should take our word more seriously than the people checking us out at the grocery store. And we want our children to reproduce our own social position and to do even better.
Well, that's most important, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
social capital is more important to people than anything. If you're in a world where status means everything,
Yeah.
you're going to be more bothered about that than you are about the concept of some black geezer who's, a bit skint.
We have these two sets of sincere commitments, the desire to be an elite, the desire to be an egalitarian. They conflict with each other, right? You can't actually be an egalitarian social climber. It's a contradiction
So
in
you
terms.
have to find a way to gentrify the narrative around your egalitarian ways. Simply saying, "Oh, I'm living on stolen land."
Yeah.
That sort of seems to be the work that people like to do now. That seems to be like you can just dust your hands after that.
Yeah, so what they don't do after saying I live on stolen land is give the land back or compensate people in any way.
If George Floyd, you mention him obviously in the book quite a lot. Most white people, if they walk past Floyd now, they wouldn't want him in their neighbourhood, would they? They see him and go, "Oh God, it's changed around here." But now he's dead, they can turn him into a poster boy for the change they want. It's almost sort of sacred. He becomes sacred for being dead.
But yeah, there's this great essay by Bertrand Cooper called Who Gets to Create Black Culture? It's an essay that haunts me. He makes this point that like after George Floyd was killed, you had HBO and the New York Times and all of these elite media outlets just George Floyd, George Floyd, George Floyd. And he asks, like, what if Floyd hadn't been killed on that day? And he decided, for whatever reason, that he wanted to produce a show on HBO or he wanted to write for the New York Times. Would he be able to? And the answer to that question is, of course, no, because he didn't have a college degree. They don't give one whit of concern
You can
about.
swear.
Okay, I'll just say it more authentically then.
Okay.
They don't give a about people like George Floyd. It was only after he died in a very public way. And so we could use him as a symbol in our struggles over power and status and so on that we cared about George Floyd.
Right.
Is when we could use him as a symbol.
He's being accepted by white people. Is there a stigmata attached to that in the black community? Are they seen as failing because they've been accepted in by these essentially conservative people?
There's some great quotes from rappers who talk about this struggle. Like Vince Staples says in one of his songs, he's like, all these white folks cheering when I'm asking where my niggas at, and stuff like this. And like they kind of struggle. If you have the wrong kind of narrative that highly educated, relatively affluent white liberals can't just no, then you usually get punished and expelled. Like you can find your place in elite circles, precarious, and sometimes you get punished and they just find some other black person.
Is there an example of that?
saying
Someone
the
who's
kind
been
of thing-
expelled from the culture that you can think of for not giving white people what they want?
Before Kanye West got all, before he went down his kind of Hitler had some good ideas track, he was largely became unfashionable among highly educated whites who had previously praised him as a genius, as this trailblazer. I mean, he did. He created whole new genres of music. He revolutionized the fashion industry, all of this. When he said George Bush hates black people, people like in the knowledge professions really loved him. But then when he started being like, oh, Trump's got that dragon energy, he's my brother.
Right.
Then they did not like him anymore.
Right.
Very rapidly, he got expelled.
Okay, quickly, if you can keep it quick, we're gonna have a quick fire round. Out of 10, how annoying are these elements of the last 10 years? Out of 10. Being called a racist if you don't have a black square on your Instagram.
10. I'm just going to be 10 all the way down, maybe.
Transphobe if you don't have pronouns on your emails.
Yeah, definitely a 10 to me.
The slogan "Silence is violence."
Yeah, also a 10. Like these kinds of things just really like grind my gears.
Okay. The term "do the work."
11.
Okay. Everyone's suddenly saying they're LGBTQ, even if they ain't fucking anyone of the same sex.
Yeah, I guess that's
Out of
also
10.
like 9 and 10 somewhere in there. Yeah.
Me Too being ruined by women using the same abuse words just because they hate their ex now.
7.
7. Right. Black Lives Matter, a good thing or not long term?
I think net negative. Honestly, not much changed for the better. And yeah.
Have woke people actually made things worse for the people they claim to be helping, or better?
Often worse.
Finally, will Trump get a third term?
I would say no, but with a big question mark attached to it.
With a yes sounding question mark. Musa al-Gharbi, it's been an absolute pleasure. So much to discuss we didn't get around to. Thank you for joining the pod. Good luck with your book. I know you got a second book coming out next year, is that right?
Yeah.
Enjoy your dates and all the best to you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much.